The solid milk chocolate bar. This seemingly simple confection hides a complex molecular structure that took industrial food scientists decades to master, because liquid milk and fat naturally repel each other. In the late 19th century, a Swiss candlemaker teamed up with a condensed milk manufacturer to solve this puzzle, realizing that completely removing water from the equation was the only way to keep the bar from spoiling instantly on store shelves. When you snap a piece of this bar, you are actually hearing the sound of tightly packed cocoa butter crystals releasing tension, a structural feat achieved only through precise temperature tempering. It is designed to melt at exactly 98 degrees Fahrenheit, matching the human body temperature to trigger an instant chemical reaction that coats the tongue in a smooth, sweet film. Today, this single style dominates global sales, serving as the financial engine for the entire confectionery industry, and setting the baseline for what billions of people perceive as true comfort food: the solid dark chocolate bar. Stripped of all dairy additives. This variant places the raw, unadulterated flavor of the cacao bean at the absolute forefront, revealing bitter, fruity, and earthy notes that milk chocolate completely masks. Historically, Mesoamerican civilizations consumed cacao as a bitter, spicy medicinal drink, meaning this dark, intense bar is actually much closer to chocolate's ancient roots than its sweeter modern counterparts. The high concentration of cocoa solids gives it a much firmer physical structure, which is why it snaps with a distinct sharp ring that experts use to judge its overall quality. Because it lacks milk to dilute the cocoa butter, it dissolves much slower on the tongue, forcing the consumer to slow down and experience a sequence of shifting flavor notes as the cocoa fat gradually warms up. It has transitioned from a niche health food into a gourmet luxury with single origin bars, now treated much like fine wines, carrying distinct flavor profiles dictated by the soil and climate of the specific region where the beans were harvested. The solid white chocolate bar. Despite persistent debates over whether it even qualifies as real chocolate, this pale confection relies entirely on the deodorized fat of the cacao bean known as cocoa butter, combined with milk solids and sugar. It was originally developed in Switzerland during the 1930s as a brilliant industrial solution to make use of the massive surplus of cocoa butter generated by the high-volume production of milk chocolate. Because it lacks cocoa powder, it completely bypasses the bitter compounds that characterize dark chocolate offering. Instead, an intensely sweet, buttery flavor profile, heavily dominated by dairy and vanilla notes. The exceptionally high fat content gives it the lowest melting point of any major chocolate type, meaning it liquefies almost instantly upon contact with the warmth of your mouth. It serves as a highly versatile canvas for pastry chefs, though its intense sweetness makes it a highly polarizing choice among casual consumers who miss the classic robust flavor of cocoa. The aerated chocolate bar. This engineering marvel is defined by thousands of microscopic bubbles suspended inside a milk chocolate matrix, completely transforming the sensory experience of eating a standard candy bar. Developed in the United Kingdom during the 1930s, the manufacturing process involves pumping pressurized gas like carbon dioxide or nitrogen into liquid chocolate, and then rapidly cooling it in a vacuum chamber to trap the expanding bubbles. This clever design drastically reduces the actual weight of the chocolate, while creating a unique, delicate texture that collapses effortlessly under the slightest bite. As you chew, the sudden collapse of the bubble walls releases a burst of aroma, while allowing the chocolate to melt much faster than a solid bar, resulting in a sudden, intense flood of sweetness. It remains a beloved novelty across Europe and parts of Asia, proving that altering the physical state of an ingredient can completely change how our brains perceive its flavor. The wafer-layered chocolate bar. Featuring a highly calculated structure of thin, crispy baked sheets, separated by layers of cream and coated in milk chocolate. This bar is a masterclass in textural contrast. The concept was popularized during the early industrial era to create a highly portable, durable snack that could survive in a worker's pocket without melting into a useless, sticky mess. By replacing a significant portion of the heavy chocolate with airy, crisp wafers, manufacturers created a satisfyingly loud crunch that actually tricks the brain into perceiving the snack as fresher and lighter. The thinness of the chocolate coating means it acts primarily as a sweet glue and protective sealant, allowing the dry toasted flavor of the wheat wafer to take center stage. This structural design makes it incredibly cheap to produce and highly resistant to crushing, securing its place as one of the most ubiquitous convenience store items across the globe. The Nougat-filled chocolate bar. This chewy classic features a dense whipped core made from egg whites, sugar, and corn syrup, creating a marshmallow-like texture that is then completely enrobed in a protective chocolate shell. Developed in the American Midwest during the 1920s, this style was designed to stretch expensive cocoa ingredients further by filling the center of the bar with cheap-filling sugar foams. The whipped air bubbles in the nougat give the bar a unique resistance to the teeth, forcing you to chew slowly and prolonging the time the chocolate spends melting on your palate. Because nougat is highly hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs moisture from the air, the outer chocolate shell acts as a vital barrier to keep the center soft, fluffy, and pliable over months of storage. It represents the quintessential American candy bar structure, balancing heavy, sweet chewiness with a thin, melting outer coating to maximize sensory satisfaction. The caramel core chocolate bar. This indulgent variation features a pocket of fluid, slow-flowing caramel sealed inside a rigid chocolate shell, offering a contrasting burst of liquid sweetness. Caramelization involves heating sugar until its molecular structure breaks down, creating complex, buttery flavor compounds that pair perfectly with the natural bitterness of cocoa. The primary engineering challenge of this bar is maintaining a perfect seal, as any tiny crack in the chocolate shell will allow the sticky caramel to leak out and ruin the packaging. To prevent this, manufacturers use highly specialized molding machines that deposit the liquid filling and the chocolate shell, simultaneously ensuring a uniform thickness on all sides. When bitten, the sudden release of the warm liquid. Caramel floods the mouth, instantly mixing with the melting chocolate to create a rich, lingering flavor that stays on the taste buds far longer than solid chocolate alone. The Toffee-crunch chocolate bar, built around a hard, brittle center of butter and sugar cooked to the hard crack stage. This bar offers an intense, tooth-rattling bite that stands in sharp contrast to its smooth chocolate coating. The origins of this style trace back to traditional British boiled sweets, which were eventually wrapped in chocolate to temper their intense, direct sweetness with a hint of cocoa bitterness. The core is incredibly sensitive to moisture, requiring a flawless chocolate barrier to prevent the hard toffee from absorbing ambient humidity and turning into a sticky, unappetizing sludge. This combination creates a highly active eating experience where the initial shatter of the hard toffee releases a rich, buttery, caramelized flavor that slowly softens as you mix it with the melting milk chocolate. It remains a favorite among those who prioritize a powerful physical crunch over a smooth, melting texture. The roasted nut chocolate bar. By embedding whole or halved nuts directly into a chocolate base, this classic style introduces an earthy savoriness and a firm, oily crunch to the sweet confectionery world. The combination of cacao and nuts is centuries old, but it became a mass-market staple when manufacturers realized that the natural fats in nuts could complement the rich texture of cocoa butter. Peanuts, almonds, and hazelnuts are the most common additions, each bringing a unique texture and flavor profile that cuts directly through the intense sweetness of the sugar. The roasting process is critical here, as it develops deep, smoky compounds in the nuts that pair beautifully with the complex aromatics of the chocolate. This bar appeals to a wide audience because the high protein and fat content of the nuts make the sweet treat feel much more like a substantial, energy-boosting snack. The crisp rice chocolate bar. This incredibly popular variety mixes toasted puffed rice grains evenly throughout a standard milk chocolate base, creating a lightweight snack with a highly distinctive rapid-fire crackle, developed during the Great Depression. As a highly effective way to cut production costs, this design allowed companies to sell large, impressive-looking bars that actually contained very little expensive chocolate. The puffed rice acts as a series of tiny hollow chambers that shatter instantly under the slightest pressure, offering a noisy, satisfying crunch without the heavy density of nuts or toffee. Because the rice is neutral in flavor, it does not compete with the sweetness of the milk chocolate, instead serving purely as a textural enhancer that keeps the palate engaged. It remains a masterclass in food psychology, proving that the sound and physical sensation of eating can be just as satisfying as the actual taste of the food. The Coconut Center chocolate bar. This tropical-themed bar features a dense, fibrous core of sweetened shredded coconut meat drenched in either milk or dark chocolate. The pairing grew out of the late 19th century fascination with exotic imported ingredients, which became highly accessible as shipping routes and preservation techniques rapidly improved. The shredded coconut is typically bound together with a thick sugar syrup, creating a moist, chewy texture that offers a long-lasting tropical flavor profile. The high-fat content of both the coconut and the chocolate creates a luxurious, slow-melting mouthfeel that lingers on the palate long after the bar is swallowed. It stands out in the confectionery aisle because its texture is completely non-uniform, offering a stringy, rustic chewiness that is entirely different from the smooth, whipped fillings of typical candy bars. The fondant-filled chocolate bar. This traditional style relies on a smooth, paste-like center made of crystallized sugar and water, which is often infused with vibrant fruit mint or liqueur flavorings. Fondant technology was a massive breakthrough in the Victorian era, allowing candy makers to create liquid-like cream-filled centers that could be safely encased in a protective chocolate shell. To achieve the perfect texture, manufacturers often add a natural enzyme called invertase to the sugar mixture, which slowly liquefies the solid center over several days after the chocolate shell has been cast. When you bite into the bar, the dense sugary cream instantly dissolves, releasing a concentrated burst of flavor that cuts through the rich outer chocolate. It remains a deeply nostalgic style, particularly popular in seasonal holiday treats and classic European confectionery lines. The Ruby Chocolate Bar. Introduced to the global market. In 2017, this striking pink bar represents the first major new category of chocolate established in over 80 years. It is created using specially selected cocoa beans that possess a natural pinkish hue, which is carefully preserved through a highly secret proprietary processing method that avoids traditional fermentation. The result is a bar that looks artificial but contains absolutely no added berries, colorings, or flavorings of any kind. Flavor-wise, it offers a startling departure from traditional chocolate, presenting a tart, fruity taste reminiscent of fresh berries combined with a subtle, creamy sweetness. It has captured the attention of a younger, visually oriented generation of consumers, carving out a unique niche that bridges the gap between the rich depth of dark chocolate and the creamy sweetness of white chocolate. The Biscuit-base chocolate bar. Combining the dry, crumbly texture of a baked shortbread biscuit with a thick, protective coating of milk chocolate. This style is designed to mimic the classic experience of dipping a cookie into a warm beverage. The biscuit layer provides a sturdy structural foundation that prevents the bar from bending or breaking easily during transit, making it a highly durable travel snack. The dry, floury nature of the baked biscuit rapidly absorbs the melting chocolate in your mouth, creating a thick, doughy paste that is incredibly satisfying to chew. This combination relies heavily on the nostalgic appeal of home baking, offering a comforting, carb-heavy bite that balances the intense sweetness of the chocolate with the savory, buttery notes of the baked dough. It is particularly beloved in European tea cultures where the act of dunking cookies in chocolate is a daily ritual. The peanut butter-filled chocolate bar. This legendary sweet and savory combination features a dense, salty peanut butter paste enclosed in a sweet, melting chocolate exterior. The pairing is a uniquely American culinary phenomenon, exploiting the powerful contrast between the rich, sugary notes of milk chocolate and the savory, roasted depth